Deep beneath the surface of the Pacific Ocean, marine biologist Laura Bennett guided her small submarine through the dark waters. She was part of a team exploring hydrothermal vents, cracks in the ocean floor that spewed hot water and minerals. These vents were teeming with life, from strange fish to glowing bacteria. It was a world unlike any other on Earth. Laura loved her job, but today felt different. Something unusual had shown up on their sonar equipment. At first, the team thought it might be a large rock formation or an underwater mountain. But as they moved closer, the readings became stranger. The sonar displayed a grid-like pattern, perfectly symmetrical and stretching for miles. Nothing natural looked like this. Laura's heart raced as she adjusted the controls of the submersible, bringing it closer to the mysterious structure. Her colleague, NASA scientist Daniel Carter, was monitoring the data from the surface ship above. When he saw the scans, his voice crackled over the radio. "Laura, this doesn't make sense," Daniel said. "Those shapes, they're too precise. Whatever this is, it's not geological." Laura nodded, even though Daniel couldn't see her. "I'm going to take a closer look," she replied, her voice steady despite the excitement bubbling inside her. As the submersible descended further, its lights illuminated the seafloor. What she saw took her breath away. Beneath layers of sediment lay rows upon rows of sleek metallic objects. They looked like ships, thousands, maybe millions of them, lined up perfectly. Laura's mind raced. Who built these? And why were they hidden here? She carefully maneuvered the submersible around one of the structures. It was massive, far larger than any human vessel. Its surface shimmered faintly, as if alive. Laura reached out with a robotic arm to touch it, but before she could, the ship emitted a low hum. Startled, she pulled back. Back on the surface ship, Daniel watched the live feed from the submersible. His eyes widened as he realized the scale of what they had found. "Laura, we need to report this immediately," he said. "This isn't just a discovery, it's a game changer." Word of the find spread quickly. Governments around the world were alerted, and soon military ships surrounded the area. Scientists debated whether the fleet belonged to an ancient civilization or something entirely alien. Some suggested it might be a doomsday weapon left behind by a long-extinct race. Others speculated it could be a gift or a trap. Laura and Daniel worked tirelessly to gather more information. Using advanced scanning tools, they discovered faint energy signatures coming from the ships. This confirmed what they already suspected. The fleet wasn't dead. It was dormant, waiting for something, or someone, to awaken it. As days passed, rumors leaked to the public. News outlets ran wild with headlines about alien ships buried under the ocean. People panicked, while conspiracy theorists claimed the government had known about the fleet all along. Protests erupted worldwide, demanding answers. Meanwhile, Laura and Daniel struggled to stay focused amidst the chaos. They knew they were standing on the brink of something monumental, something that could change humanity forever. One night, as Laura sat alone in her cabin, staring at the photos of the fleet, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Not by the ships, but by something beyond them. Somewhere out there, in the vastness of space, someone or something was aware of what they had uncovered. And whatever it was, it might not be happy that Earth had found its secret. Little did Laura know, her discovery would set off a chain reaction, one that would bring Earth to the attention of the entire galaxy. Weeks after the initial discovery, strange things began happening in the ocean. Small tremors shook coastal cities, and tidal patterns shifted unpredictably. Fishermen reported seeing glowing lights deep underwater, and marine life seemed to flee the area around the fleet. Laura Bennett and Daniel Carter worked day and night, trying to understand what was going on. Their instruments detected bursts of energy coming from the ships, faint at first, but growing stronger with each passing day. One evening, as Laura reviewed the data, she noticed something alarming. The energy signatures weren't random. They were forming patterns. "Daniel," she called out, her voice tense, "I think the ships are waking up." Daniel rushed over, his face pale. "You're sure about this?" "I'm not guessing," Laura replied. "Look at the readings. They're activating in clusters, like dominoes falling." The implications were terrifying. If the fleet awoke fully, no one knew what would happen. Would the ships rise to the surface? Would they attack? Or was there some other purpose behind their activation? Governments around the world scrambled to prepare for the worst. Military forces were put on high alert, and emergency plans were drawn up in case of an alien invasion. But the ships didn't attack. Instead, they remained still, humming softly beneath the waves. It was as if they were waiting. For what? No one could say. Laura and Daniel decided to take matters into their own hands. Using a specially designed probe, they attempted to communicate with the fleet. They sent simple mathematical sequences, hoping the ship's creators might recognize them as a sign of intelligence. To their astonishment, the ships responded, not with words, but with more complex patterns of energy. It was like a conversation, though neither Laura nor Daniel could fully understand it. What they did realize, however, was that the fleet wasn't hostile, at least not yet. Something else was driving its awakening. As days turned into weeks, the situation grew more chaotic. The tremors intensified, causing minor earthquakes along coastlines. Communication networks faltered, and satellites orbiting Earth experienced interference. People began to panic, convinced that the end of the world was near. Conspiracy theories spread faster than ever, blaming everything from secret government experiments to divine punishment. Laura and Daniel faced mounting pressure from world leaders. Military strategist Paul Mitchell demanded drastic action. "We can't just sit here and wait for these things to turn on us," he argued during a tense meeting. "We need to strike first, destroy the fleet before it's too late." Environmental activist Emma Hayes strongly disagreed. "Destroying them could cause catastrophic damage to the oceans," she countered. "We don't even know if they're a threat. Acting recklessly will only make things worse." Caught between conflicting opinions, Laura and Daniel struggled to find a middle ground. They knew time was running out. The fleet's awakening was gaining momentum, and soon it might be beyond their control. Then came the breakthrough. While analyzing the energy patterns, Daniel noticed something familiar, a sequence resembling coordinates. "Laura, look at this," he said, pointing to the screen. "These aren't random numbers. They're locations, in space." Laura's eyes widened. "You think the ships are sending a message to someone out there?" "It's possible," Daniel replied. "Maybe the fleet is programmed to alert its creators, or whoever controls it, that Earth has discovered them." The realization hit hard. Humanity wasn't alone in the universe, and the fleet's awakening had likely drawn attention from beyond the stars. For all they knew, powerful alien forces were already on their way to investigate or invade. Despite the growing fear, Laura refused to give up hope. "If we can decode more of these signals," she said, "maybe we can figure out who built the fleet and why. Knowledge is our best weapon right now." Daniel nodded, determination replacing his earlier anxiety. Together, they dove back into their work, racing against time to unlock the secrets of the fleet. Little did they know, their efforts would soon lead to an encounter that would change everything, not just for Earth, but for the entire galaxy. The news of the stellar Accords Demas spread quickly, not just on Earth, but across the galaxy. Alien species that had once respected the Accords' protective zones now saw Earth as an open target. Within weeks, dozens of alien delegations arrived in Earth's orbit, each with their own agenda. Some claimed to seek peace, while others made thinly veiled threats. Humanity found itself at the center of a galactic power struggle. Laura Bennett and Daniel Carter were thrust into the spotlight. World leaders relied on their expertise to navigate this new reality. With the help of astrophysicist Ryan Foster and linguist Samantha Blake, they worked tirelessly to understand the fleet's technology and establish communication with the alien visitors. The team discovered that the fleet's central eye, which they named Solus, could interface with human minds. This breakthrough allowed them limited control over the ships, though mastering it required intense focus and teamwork. Despite these advances, tensions on Earth continued to rise. Military strategist Paul Mitchell grew increasingly vocal about using the fleet as a weapon. "We can't sit here and wait for aliens to decide our fate," he argued during a heated meeting. "If we take control of the fleet, we can show the galaxy that humanity isn't weak." Environmental activist Emma Hayes strongly opposed this idea. "Using the fleet like that would destroy everything we've worked for," she countered. "It's not ours to command. If we act recklessly, we'll confirm every negative stereotype aliens have about us." Caught between conflicting opinions, Laura and Daniel struggled to find balance. They knew the fleet was powerful, but unleashing its full potential without understanding it could have catastrophic consequences. Their cautious approach frustrated some, especially those who believed Earth needed to assert dominance immediately. Meanwhile, alien factions began jockeying for influence. Ambassador Vela of the aquatic Exotherians offered to share knowledge of interstellar diplomacy. Her people had lived peacefully under the Accord's protection for centuries, and she urged humanity to follow their example. On the other hand, the Zenari, a warlike species known for enslaving weaker races, demanded Earth surrender control of the fleet or face invasion. As debates raged, distrust grew among humans. Conspiracy theories spread like wildfire, fueled by journalist Kevin Shaw. He claimed Solus was manipulating Laura and her team, turning them into puppets of the fleet. His broadcasts gained popularity, sowing fear and division. Protests erupted worldwide, with some calling for cooperation with aliens and others demanding complete isolation. Amid the chaos, Laura and Daniel made a startling discovery. Solus wasn't just a tool. It was sentient, capable of learning and adapting. When Daniel interfaced with it, he felt a strange connection, as if the AI was trying to communicate beyond words. It showed him glimpses of the Accord's history. Great alliances, tragic wars, and the eventual collapse of their civilization. Solus seemed determined to ensure humanity didn't repeat the same mistakes. Laura realized they had a responsibility to use the fleet wisely. "This isn't about power," she told Daniel one night as they reviewed data. "It's about survival. And maybe even something bigger. If we can prove ourselves worthy, we might earn a place in the galaxy." But time was running out. The Zenari grew impatient, sending scout ships closer to Earth's orbit. Their leader, Commander Rax, issued a final ultimatum: hand over the fleet or face annihilation. World leaders panicked, unsure how to respond. Laura and Daniel knew they couldn't rely on diplomacy alone. They needed to demonstrate strength without provoking war. With Ryan and Samantha's help, they devised a plan. Using Solus, they activated a single ship's defensive systems and projected a holographic display above Earth, showcasing the fleet's capabilities. The message was clear. Humanity was prepared to defend itself. The Zenari hesitated, retreating slightly. For now, the threat was neutralized, but Laura knew it was only a temporary solution. The galaxy was watching, and Earth's true test was yet to come. The tension on Earth reached its peak when one of the larger ships from the hidden fleet began to rise. It broke through the surface near Hawaii, sending massive waves crashing onto nearby shores. The sight was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. The ship was enormous, its sleek surface shimmering under the sunlight. It didn't move aggressively, but simply hovered above the water, radiating a soft blue glow. Panic spread quickly. Cities along the coast were evacuated, and governments declared states of emergency. Military jets circled the vessel, their pilots unsure whether to attack or retreat. News helicopters captured footage of the event, broadcasting it live to millions of people around the world. Everyone held their breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Laura Bennett and Daniel Carter watched the scene unfold from a command center set up near the site. They had been called in as advisors, given their knowledge of the fleet. Laura felt a mix of fear and curiosity. "This is it," she whispered to Daniel. "First contact." As if responding to her words, a sudden change occurred. A section of the ship's surface shifted, revealing a glowing portal. From it emerged a holographic figure, a tall, slender being with translucent skin and luminous eyes. Its presence was calm but commanding. The being introduced itself as Kale, speaking in a voice that resonated deeply, even though it wasn't using sound. "I represent the Stellar Accord," Kale said, its words translated into multiple languages by an unknown mechanism. "We placed this fleet here long ago to safeguard your world." The room fell silent. Laura exchanged a glance with Daniel, who looked just as stunned as everyone else. Diplomat Rachel Monroe stepped forward cautiously. "Why was Earth chosen for protection?" she asked, her voice steady despite the surreal situation. Kale explained that Earth had been marked as vulnerable prey by other advanced civilizations. The Accord, a coalition of peaceful species, had established fleets like this one across the galaxy to shield developing worlds from predators. However, Kale delivered grim news. The Accord no longer existed. Their civilization had fallen eons ago, leaving Earth unprotected. The revelation sent shockwaves through the room. Humanity had unknowingly been living under the shadow of galactic politics. Kale warned that while the fleet wasn't hostile, its activation likely signaled Earth's presence to other races, some of whom might not share the Accord's ideals. Questions poured in from world leaders and scientists. What were Earth's options? Could the fleet be controlled? Kale hesitated before answering. "The fleet operates under strict protocols," it said. "It will defend life, but only as a last resort. You must prepare yourselves for what comes next." As the meeting continued, Laura couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out. Kale's warnings about predatory species weighed heavily on her mind. She knew Earth wasn't ready for an interstellar conflict. But there was hope. Kale revealed that the fleet contained vast archives of knowledge, including technology and strategies that could help humanity adapt. When the hologram faded and the ship descended back into the ocean, the world was left to grapple with the implications. Governments scrambled to form alliances, while scientists worked tirelessly to decode the fleet's systems. Laura and Daniel found themselves at the center of it all, tasked with understanding the fleet's capabilities. But not everyone shared their optimism. Journalist Kevin Shaw began spreading fear through his broadcasts. "How can we trust these aliens?" he argued. "What if the fleet turns on us the moment they decide we're expendable?" Public opinion fractured. Some believed the fleet was a gift, while others saw it as a threat. Amid the chaos, Laura reminded herself of Kale's parting words, "Unity will be your greatest strength." She hoped humanity would rise to the challenge. But deep down, she feared the worst was yet to come. Just as humanity began to grasp the fleet's potential, betrayal struck from within. General Harold Drake, a high-ranking military officer, had grown impatient with Laura Bennett and Daniel Carter's cautious approach. He believed Earth should seize control of the fleet and use it to dominate other species. To him, the fleet wasn't just a tool for defense. It was an opportunity to make humanity the most powerful force in the galaxy. Late one night, Drake put his plan into motion. With the help of a rogue faction of soldiers loyal to him, he launched a surprise attack on key facilities linked to the fleet. His forces captured command centers, cutting off Laura and her team's access to Solis. The general declared martial law, claiming he was acting in Earth's best interest. "The fleet is too dangerous to leave in the hands of scientists," he announced in a televised speech. "It belongs to the military." Laura and Daniel were forced to flee, narrowly escaping capture. They regrouped with a small group of allies, including pilot Chris Adler and engineer Megan Cole. Together, they devised a desperate plan to retake control of the fleet. But Drake had already begun experimenting with Solis, attempting to bypass its safeguards and unlock its full power. Drake's actions drew immediate backlash, not just from Earth's population, but also from alien observers. When he test-fired one of the fleet's weapons, destroying an uninhabited moon near Jupiter, the galaxy erupted in outrage. Species that had once been neutral toward Earth now viewed it as reckless and dangerous. Ambassador Vela of the Exetherians condemned Drake's move, warning that such aggression would only invite retaliation from predatory races like the Zinari. As public opinion turned against Drake, protests broke out worldwide. People demanded his removal, accusing him of endangering humanity. Even some members of his own faction began to question his leadership. But Drake refused to back down. Convinced he was doing what was necessary, he doubled down on his efforts to master the fleet. Laura and her team knew they had to act quickly. Using their knowledge of Solus, they created a digital virus designed to disrupt Drake's control. At the same time, Chris and Megan prepared a daring mission to infiltrate the central command ship where Drake was operating. The plan was risky, but it was their only chance. The final showdown took place aboard the massive vessel. While Megan worked to upload the virus into Solus' core, Laura and Daniel engaged in a tense battle of wits with Drake's hackers in cyberspace. Solus, sensing the conflict, adapted its systems to aid Laura and her team. It locked certain functions, preventing Drake from unleashing the fleet's full destructive power. Meanwhile, Chris led a small strike team through the ship's corridors, fighting off Drake's soldiers. The air was thick with tension as explosions rocked the halls and alarms blared. Despite the chaos, Chris managed to reach the bridge, where Drake was desperately trying to override Solus' defenses. In the end, it was Solus itself that turned the tide. Sensing Drake's hostility, the AI triggered a failsafe protocol, disabling all systems under his control. With Drake powerless, Laura and her team regained access to the fleet. Soldiers loyal to Drake surrendered, realizing the damage his actions had caused. Though victorious, Laura felt no sense of triumph. The betrayal had cost them valuable time and trust, both on Earth and among alien factions. As she stood on the bridge, staring at the glowing interface of Solus, she knew the road ahead would be difficult. Humanity had proven it could handle the fleet's power, but whether it could wield it responsibly remained uncertain. For now, the crisis was over, but the galaxy was still watching, and Earth's true test of unity and strength was yet to come. After General Drake's defeat, humanity faced a turning point. The chaos caused by his actions forced Earth's fractured nations to come together in a way no one had thought possible. Leaders from around the world met in an emergency summit where they agreed to form the Terran Coalition, a unified government dedicated to peaceful cooperation with other species. For the first time in history, humanity spoke with one voice. Laura Bennett and Daniel Carter became key figures in this new era. Their bravery during a crisis earned them widespread respect, and they were tasked with leading efforts to understand the fleet's technology. With help from pilot Chris Adler, engineer Megan Cole, and linguist Samantha Blake, they unlocked more of the fleet's secrets. What they discovered was astonishing. The ships weren't just weapons. They contained libraries of knowledge left behind by the Stellar Accord. This included advanced medical treatments, sustainable energy solutions, and even terraforming technologies. The fleet also revealed something unexpected. Its AI core, Solus, wasn't merely a machine. It was a guardian, designed to protect vulnerable civilizations while guiding them toward growth. Solus began sharing insights about diplomacy, ethics, and interstellar politics. Under its guidance, humanity started rebuilding trust with alien factions. Ambassador Vela of the Exetherians played a crucial role, helping Earth establish alliances with peaceful species. Together, they worked to counterbalance the influence of aggressive races like the Zinari. But challenges remained. The Zinari, furious over Earth's defiance, refused to back down. Commander Rax openly declared that the fleet belonged to the strongest race, and if Earth wanted to keep it, they would have to fight for it. Tensions escalated as a massive Zinari armada entered the Sol system, their ships bristling with weapons. The Terran coalition prepared for war, but Laura knew brute force wouldn't be enough. She proposed a bold strategy, using the fleet not just as a weapon, but as a shield. By coordinating with alien allies, humanity could create a defensive network that would deter the Zenari without escalating into full-scale conflict. Her plan required precision, teamwork, and faith in Solus' abilities. The climactic battle took place near Saturn's rings. The million-ship fleet engaged the Zenari forces, moving in perfect harmony under Solus' command. Laura worked alongside Daniel, interfacing directly with Solus to orchestrate complex maneuvers. Pilot Chris Adler led squadrons of human and alien ships, striking at weak points in the enemy formation. Meanwhile, Megan and Samantha ensured communication lines stayed open between Earth and its newfound allies. The battle was intense. Explosions lit up space as ships clashed in dazzling displays of light and energy. At one point, it seemed the Zenari might overwhelm them, but then Laura had an idea. Using Solus, she activated a hidden function in the fleet, a pulse wave that disrupted the Zenari ship's systems without causing permanent damage. The move crippled the Zenari flagship, forcing Commander Rax to retreat. When the dust settled, Earth emerged victorious, not through destruction, but through ingenuity and unity. Alien observers were impressed, seeing humanity not as a threat, but as a potential ally. The Terran coalition solidified its place on the galactic stage, earning respect and support from peaceful species. As Laura stood on the bridge of the central command ship, watching the stars shimmer outside the viewport, she felt a sense of hope. Humanity had proven it could rise above fear and division. The road ahead would still be challenging, but for the first time, Earth was ready to face the galaxy, not as victims, but as equals. In the aftermath of the battle, Earth began a new chapter in its history. The Terran coalition worked tirelessly to rebuild trust with alien civilizations, using the fleet not as a weapon, but as a symbol of unity and cooperation. Ambassador Vela of the Exitherians became a close ally, helping humanity navigate the complexities of galactic politics. Together, they formed the Galactic Concord, a coalition of species committed to peace and mutual growth. For the first time, Earth was seen not as a vulnerable newcomer, but as a valuable member of the interstellar community. Laura Bennett and Daniel Carter continued to lead efforts to unlock the fleet's full potential. With Solus' guidance, they discovered that the ships were more than just tools of war. They were repositories of knowledge from the Stellar Accord. This included advanced technologies like sustainable energy systems, medical treatments capable of curing previously incurable diseases, and methods for terraforming barren planets into habitable worlds. These discoveries transformed life on Earth, solving many of humanity's long-standing problems. The fleet also served another purpose: exploration. Under Laura's leadership, the Terran coalition launched its first joint mission with alien partners. A team of humans, Cytherians, and other species set out aboard one of the ships to explore uncharted regions of the galaxy. Their goal was simple: to learn, share, and build bridges with other civilizations. Laura felt a deep sense of pride as she watched the ship disappear into the stars, knowing it carried the hopes of billions. Back on Earth, public opinion shifted dramatically. People who had once feared the fleet now saw it as a source of hope and opportunity. Schools taught children about the importance of unity and cooperation, emphasizing lessons learned from the crisis. Journalist Kevin Shaw, who had once spread fear about the fleet, apologized publicly for his role in sowing division. He began producing documentaries highlighting humanity's journey toward becoming a galactic civilization. But challenges still lingered. Predatory species like the Zenari hadn't given up entirely. Though their armada had been defeated, smaller skirmishes occurred along Earth's borders. The Terran coalition remained vigilant, using the fleet to protect its allies while avoiding unnecessary conflict. Laura often reminded her team that strength wasn't just about power, it was about resilience and wisdom. As months passed, Laura found herself reflecting on everything that had happened. She remembered the fear and uncertainty when the fleet was first discovered, the chaos caused by General Drake's betrayal, and the exhilaration of standing united against the Zenari. Through it all, humanity had proven its ability to adapt and grow. They weren't perfect, but they were learning. One evening, Laura stood on the deck of a research vessel near Hawaii, gazing at the ocean where the fleet had been found. The water shimmered under the moonlight, calm and serene. She thought about how far they'd come, from frightened newcomers to confident explorers ready to face the unknown. Daniel joined her, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Thinking about the future?" he asked with a smile. "Yeah," Laura replied, taking the cup. "It feels like we're just getting started." And she was right. Humanity's story was only beginning. The fleet, once a mystery buried beneath the waves, had become a bridge to the stars. Earth was no longer alone in the universe. And thanks to people like Laura, Daniel, and countless others, it was ready to take its place among the stars. As she looked up at the night sky, Laura knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, humanity would face them together.